The original Beauty and the Beast fairy tale is not very good. The Disney studio released that very quickly and rewrote it to be more interesting. The main reason why is because it just has a lot of things that just don't make a lot of sense. The main concept is interesting, where a girl falls in love with a monster and he turns into a prince again. But yeah, the original fairy tale, it's weird. A guy has a whole family. Maybe he has some sons, who knows. But he has 3 daughters. 2 of them are bitchy. They're basically the stepsisters from Cinderella, not very original. And one very beautiful daughter who is very modest and only wants one single rose, while the other ones want all this crap. So the dad goes out. He's like rich and broke at the same time. Who the hell knows? He picks out a rose from a castle, and it turns out a beast is there. The beast is a pig guy, basically. He's not very intimidating, actually. He's kind of lame. He's also stupid as hell. Not my words. This is the fairy tale. And so Beauty trades places with her father because she's a good girl like that. Well, she keeps rejecting the beast's marriage proposals, and he cries a little bit, and then he dies, and he's like, oh, actually, I did love you, and then he turns into a prince. That's the original Beauty and the Beast story. And maybe her sisters get punished because they're bitches, who the hell knows. It doesn't really matter that much. This fairy tale's been retold multiple times. It's as tale as old as the time, and Disney decided they're going to do their own spin, and their spin will become the most famous version of the story. Disney's Beauty and the Beast is very well known for being great. How popular was this movie? Well, it was nominated for Best Picture. This is the first animated movie to ever be nominated for Best Picture. That's a big deal. Well, technically, Snow White was supposed to be nominated for Best Picture, but they decided not to because it was an animated film because they're biased. Fuck the Oscars. So yeah, them getting nominated for Oscar is a big deal. They didn't win. They lost to Silence of the Lambs, which is Trump's favorite movie.
Silence of the Lambs. Has anyone ever seen the Silence of the Lambs? Hannibal Lecter. Congratulations, the late great Hannibal Lecter.
Side note, people are actually going to vote for this guy? Are you fucking kidding me? Alright, now that I lost my conservative audience that I don't really give a shit about, let's talk about the film proper. This film was so good that it was nominated for other Oscars, like Best Original Song, which it had 3 songs contended for that when Beauty and the Beast, this title song, won. Not the best song in the movie, honestly. Oscar, she should have chosen a different song. As well as Best Original Score, which it also won. And the reason why it wins is because Alan Menken and Howard Ashman are back again writing music, and they do a fantastic job. While the score is good, I do prefer the Little Mermaid score a bit more, so the songs won't get as high ranking as the Little Mermaid did, which took a nice giant sweep in my tier list, but we'll get to that at the end of the video. So yeah, the songs are great, but unfortunately this would be the last film that Howard Ashman will work on before passing away. The film is actually dedicated to him. And of course you can read here, he gave a mermaid her voice and a beast his soul. And even though this would be the last film he would live under to not really see, but he would also have some of the songs be on the next Disney film. So we're still going to talk about him a little bit. He's a great lyricist, and he will be remembered forever. Much like The Little Mermaid, the songwriters will also be involved in the story structure, which is a good thing, because we want the music to match up with actual stories, so it's nice to have that happen. And of course, there were some story changes with the song department, like the famous song Be Our Guest was originally sung to Maurice of all characters, but of course this was changed to Belle because it makes more sense. There's actually a song that was scrapped from the movie, but then was added again in re-releases, that being Human Again, which is a song that I actually cannot believe they scrapped. So I actually grew up with the version that actually had this song, so seeing it without it feels very weird and feel like the film is missing something every time I watch it without it. So the song was originally going to take the place of something there, but they decided to scrap it because it didn't fit that well. But then it was re-recorded for the Broadway version by Alan Menken, and that version actually ended up being in the actual film, the 2002 release, and then stayed there for mostly ever since. The animation for this sequence is pretty great, actually. I like it a lot. It adds a lot to the characters as well as the pacing. I think it adds a lot to the film, and I'm glad it's back in the movie for the most part, and I think it's better with it rather than without it. That's just me. And there's this nice scene with Belle and Beast bonding over books, and I like it a lot. This scene that feels like it's missing from the movie without it. It needs to be there, right? It needs to be there. This won't be the last time a Disney film actually brought back a scrap song in a later release, but this one is definitely a positive one. The other one from The Lion King is not a great song that should have been scrapped, but we'll get to that when we talk about The Lion King. One of the funny notes about this film is that they originally wanted Belle to be voiced by Jodie Benson, who did Ariel, but they decided, she sounds too young, which doesn't make any sense, but oh well. She's instead voiced by Paige O'Hara, which is great, but I find it weird they originally wanted to have two Disney princesses back-to-back have the same voice actor. That would have been a little weird. Not would have been bad, but just been distracting. Beauty and the Beast is also the second film to use the cap system, which this film uses a lot more than Rescuers Down Under did. There's some actually really great uses of it in this film. Maybe I'm stupid, but this is the first time I realized that this wagon in the beginning of this movie is actually CGI. I cannot believe I just noticed that this viewing. For the most part, the CGI mixing is a lot better, though sometimes it's pretty obvious. These are obviously CGI. And I love how derpy these CGI forks look here. Like, they're so beat looking, but I love them. My favorite uses of CGI is actually during the ballroom scene, which is a pretty famous scene. But they're actually able to use a nice 3D environment to make it look more three-dimensional, obviously. It's cool to see some different angles in it through 2D animation, which is a lot harder to do with traditional backgrounds. So that's all the behind-the-scenes information that we really have. It was pretty smooth for the most part. So I guess I'll talk about some of my personal opinions and other little things I've noticed with the film, and let's see what we got to say. Well, the opening song number, known as Belle, is pretty great. It's not the best song, but it's definitely great for atmospherically opening. It's very iconic in musical terms. But it's also home to some of these ugly characters. Like, I don't know why, but these characters have always stuck down in my head. Like, this guy, this giant nose, and this bald woman, they've always stuck out how ugly they are. Another side character I always hated when I was a kid was this fat guy with his gut sticking out. Like, get a bigger shirt, doofus. Also, this guy checking out this girl's tits. What a lovely scene in a kid's movie. It also bothered me during the book scene that, like, this guy's obviously friendly to Belle, but later on she's like, I have no friends in the village, other than Gaston tries to hit on me. But the book guy, he's a nice guy, give you a free book. Fuck you, Belle. And look, there's that fat guy again. He was perving on her. What a dick. Also, it's a shame that as soon as she gets a free book, everyone destroys. Like, this sheep takes a giant bite out of the page. Like, that is a dick move. And Gaston just throws that shit in the mud. Like, what a piece of shit. This book gets destroyed at this point. Like, that's a dead book. It's a good thing she doesn't have to return it. Oh, we should probably talk about Gaston, because he's funny as hell. Well, everyone in town simps over Belle, they think she's weird. These three bimbettes here, that's her official name, by the way, simp over Gaston all the time. Like, Gaston, buddy, I know Belle's hot, but you have these three broads that want to suck your dick all the time. Like, why don't you fuck them instead? Oh, well. I mean, one of them clearly has Belle's hairstyle. You see, the one on the left, I think, has Belle's hairstyle. And the one in the middle has Jasmine's hairstyle. And the one on the right has Ariel's hairstyle. Yeah, they did that on purpose, in case you're wondering. So Gaston's a pretty funny character. He set up a wedding for him and Belle before he even engaged to her. Like, geez Louise, dude, what an ego. And I always love this scene where he puts the tube over his sidekick's head. And his little lips come out. I don't know why that cracked me up a lot as a kid. I love how this obviously evil sidekick is a stupid buffoon. His name really translates to the fool. Was some reason given a sympathetic backstory in the fucking live-action remake. Stupid as hell. Fuck it. I also like this scene where he looks in like a fucking weirdo. So Gaston tries to rizz up Belle, but he fails miserably because this dude doesn't have clean boots, and he takes it off and has stinky socks. I don't even know how that's possible. Isn't this wedding outfit? He can't even get clean for his own fucking wedding? And of course his way of rizzing her up is by telling her that you're going to have a bunch of boys, and dogs, because that's really attractive. I mean, who doesn't want a dog? But why would you want a bunch of Gastons running around? I just realized he ruined another book! This guy hates books. What is he, a conservative? Actually, him being a conservative makes a lot of sense. He thinks he's justified to women's bodies. What a dick.
So, how'd it go?
So Gaston is mad because he gets cucked by a hairy beast. Now he claims that every last inch of him is covered with hair, but the beast actually has every last inch of him covered in hair. Like, Gaston, you have a hairy chest, but look, you can see missing parts of hair on your chin there. Like, geez Louise, dude. You don't have hair on your forehead, do you? Or your knuckles? No, you only have it on your chest. So you're a liar. Seeing as an untraditional villain Gaston is, he also has a very untraditional villain song. The entire villain song is just his sidekick prepping him up for the big showdown. Not really big showdown, but making him feel better about himself. Because he's a little soy boy now. And this whole song just showcases how impossibly strong and clever Gaston, not clever, but good Gaston is at being manly, like eating 5 dozen eggs, which I don't even think is possible. He also claims to use antlers in all his decorating, but last time I checked, eagles and bears and raccoons don't have antlers, so you're a liar. He also hates chests, apparently. This becomes a villain song near the end where he decides he's gonna lock up crazy old Maurice. And that's pretty much all there is to say about Gaston, other than the fact that he's supposed to be incredibly strong. When he fights the beast, he loses and cries like a little bitch. And most of the time when he wins a fight, it's because he cuts the beast off guard like a little bitch he is. Fuck Gaston, he's a little cuck boy. So yeah, Gaston, he's a pretty fun character. You know, I talk trash about him, jokingly. I love this freeze frame I got here. Classic. He's holding a piece of the castle, because the castle is very breakable. Let's talk about some of the rest of the characters. Because Gaston just fell from the castle. Whoever designed the character of the Beast should definitely get an Oscar award, or an award, whatever the hell he is. Give them all freaking Oscars, whatever they saying it. The character looks great and has some great animation. He has very subtle emotional things that you can pick up on if you watch multiple times. Like, oh wait, that's cool, I like that. They definitely went out their way to make a really cool, unique Beast design, because in the original fairy tale, it's just a boar man, basically. That's basically all they describe it as. They combine a bunch of different animals to create this very unique design, like a bear, an ox, the pig, wolf, and yeah, it's pretty cool, actually. I like it a lot. However, his human design looks very, weird. Yeah, I don't like that face. That face is ugly. It's not the worst design, but this one screenshot where you can see clearly, it looks really bad. I mean, I don't know. Someone did a whole deep dive into this space. You see, someone fucked up along the way. Is basically what happened for this one screenshot. They really should have fixed this. This is the most important frame of the movie. Why would they? Not the most important, but like one of the. You know what I mean? It looks like shit. You see, Belle actually is disappointed with this because she was a furry all along. She's like, man, I wish he was actually a beast man. If I did a Prince ranking, the Beast would be high up there, even though he doesn't actually have a real name. So even when he's a human, his name is just Beast. They don't say anything. He doesn't have a name. People say Adam, but that's never mentioned or put on anything else related to Disney's Beauty and the Beast, so it's not his name. There's a funny clip of the director's commentary where they actually realize this and like, oh, I guess we fucked up. Oh well. I can't find the clip anywhere, but if you have the DVD, I guess you can look it up yourself. Another person who fucked up's the Enchantress. So this film, like Little Mermaid 2, which I really didn't get into, has been dissected like, oh, this would make a lot of sense, but in reality, who really gives a shit? People think that it's kind of dramatic for the Enchantress to put a spell on a guy for rejecting a rose. I mean, he may have been bad, in fact, he probably was, but the Enchantress seems like a fucking bitch herself. These are one of those nitpicky things where people are like, oh, but there's guys complaining, it doesn't matter. We were just given a snippet of the conversation that happened. The weird thing is that the spell is kind of specific. He has to do this for his 21st birthday, which, that's kind of beat, given a time limit. Why does there have to be a time limit there, Enchantress? Well, you bitch? But anyway, another thing people noted is that during the song, Be Our Guest, is mentioned that there's a time-year span of 10 years they've been rusting, meaning so much more than dusting. That's the exact lyric. Meaning that the Beast was 11 years old. Now this may seem weird thing, like, okay, that's just probably an oversight. But then you see one of the direct-to-video sequels, which is actually a midquel, they actually make him 11 years old during the flashback sequence, which is really bad, by the way, in the terrible Christmas movie. He's like a little kid here. I don't know why that cracks me up. So yes, it is canon the Enchantress put a spell on a little kid. Well, maybe not that little kid, but he's a kid still. But at the same time, this portrait looks like he's a little older than a kid there, but whatever. Also, there's this rose. I feel like there's rose iconography, but the rose actually, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't mean a whole lot. It just, a petal falls off of it, like, for every year, I guess, until this 21st birthday, till it goes away. Of course, this is a reference to the original fairy tale where the guy tries to take a rose from the garden, which isn't in this version, because it's not really necessary anyway. Whatever. This plot point doesn't really matter as much as the people also talking about Stockholm Syndrome. I won't get into it, but whatever. People have their own opinion on it. Don't really care. One of the clever things they did in this film, compared to the fairy tale, is they made all of Beast's servants inanimate objects. In the fairy tale, he only has like one servant who does basically very little. In the movie, though, we have a bunch of them. Though you kind of feel bad for them. They didn't really do anything bad. In fact, they're not even shown to be bad characters, but they're cursed to be these inanimate objects. Oh well. Another question I have is, what is this gray stuff? It's delicious, but what is it? I saw someone actually make this whole platter here, but still, it's a very weird looking platter, isn't it? I don't know, to me it is. Though on a serious note, I haven't seen any food that's really gray. Gray's not a really common color you see with food. Other than fish, something comes to mind. But like a paste like that, and it being delicious, I'm just very curious what it could be. The world may never know. The last thing I should talk about is the Disney Princess, which I actually won't talk about because I have a whole section for that, so I'll talk about Belle when we get to that section in Material List. So I would say go watch Beauty and the Beast, but it's actually one of those films I feel like everyone's seen. I mean, it's highly popular, so I'm going to talk about other aspects of it, like how it's been adapted into media. Beauty and the Beast has two infamous direct-to-video releases. One being The Enchanted Christmas, which has a bit more popularity, but still not very good, and flanderizes both Beast and especially Belle to a extreme degree. They are both midquels, which are kind of weird. Meaning the entire movie takes place in the middle of the Beauty and the Beast film, so that's just a very weird movie to even watch in the first place. While Enchanted Christmas may be bad, it at least has some people like it and some good elements. Belle's Magical World, on the other hand, is terrible. Disney tried to make multiple TV shows based off some of their films, and if they didn't succeed, they put them on VHS. So this movie essentially is 3 episodes from a scrap Beauty and the Beast TV show that are now a movie, and you can see why they're scrapped, because they're really bad. This film gave us this face. This is a reaction when someone's eating too loudly when you're trying to read. That's the actual context of this scene, in case you're wondering. In 1994, Beauty and the Beast would be transferred into a Broadway musical that would be highly successful. As a matter of fact, the lead actress who plays Belle in the original recording would actually go on to play Megara in Hercules because that's how great a show Beauty and the Beast on Broadway was. It's very highly successful and the second most popular Broadway show that Disney's ever made, behind The Lion King, which is a great accomplishment. In 2017, we were given an awful remake of Beauty and the Beast. It's been picked to death, and unfortunately, it's the one that really started the whole remake thing in the first place. There was remakes before, but this is the one that made a lot of money and just copied and pasted the original screenplay and made it worse in every way. Look how ugly this thing is. Terrible. Terrible. I really want to talk about how bad these remakes are. I know they've already been talked about before, but I really don't want to watch these movies, so it's kind of a lose-lose situation there. For Beauty and the Beast, there's also this kind of a weird show that I hear nobody talk about, despite the fact that it ran from 95 to 99, which is Sing Me a Story, or Tell Me a Story with Belle. It's about Belle owning a bookstore and just telling stories with bookworms and stuff like that. It looks pretty weird, but tell me if you watched this as a kid. I know I didn't before my time. Usually don't talk about books and there's something interesting, and I found something interesting. A comic series about Beauty and the Beast from Marvel Comics in 1994. This is a very weird thing, because Disney usually didn't use Marvel Comics at the time, because they usually used Dell or something else. So yeah, it's weird that Marvel would, all people, would produce a Beauty and the Beast comic. And of course, later down the line, Marvel will be purchased by Disney, so I guess it goes full circle. The franchise also received multiple video games, like one on NES in 1994, which seems pretty late for a NES release, but whatever. This game, you play as a beast looking for Belle, and that's pretty much it. You're looking for the castle, and then at the end, you become human again. In this version, Beast punches Gaston off the cliff himself. Fuck him. And after that, he becomes human immediately. That's one cursed-looking image, that's all I can say. The same year as the NES version, there's a Super Nintendo version that looks a lot more polished, and it looks like it has a lot more going on in terms of gameplay. So this one looks like a better game to play if you want to play a Beauty and the Beast game. And this final boss, instead of pushing Gaston off the cliff, you just scratch him to death until he dies. But then the Beast also dies, but then you get this nice little cutscene here, where Belle cries over his dead body. But then he turns human again. Isn't that lovely? And not only that, there's even more magic, because they magically go into different outfits somehow. How'd that happen? How'd the outfits change? On the Sega Genesis, we actually had 2 games released for both boys and girls. The girl version allows you to play as Belle, as she does very casual stuff, like pick up books and avoid minor obstacles. That's about it. It actually looked kind of bad, to be honest. And the boy version is called Roar the Beast, also on Sega Genesis, where you play as the Beast, attacking enemies. Honestly, Super Nintendo games look a little more interesting than the Genesis ones, but that's just me. You want to play board games about Beauty and the Beast, but on the go? Well, there's a game about that. Well, it says it's a board game, but it doesn't look like a board game to me. The Game Boy Color game released in 1999 called A Board Game Adventure is just a collection of mini-games from Beauty and the Beast, basically. There's very little board game elements here. Most of the time you'll just be playing mini-games, and that's pretty much it. Graphically, the game doesn't look terrible. It actually looks okay for Game Boy Color, but nothing else is interesting about this game, so let's move on to the next one. Of course, there's the Bejeweled knockoff. This is called A Perfect Match, and it was for the terrible 2017 remake. Now, Beauty and the Beast has appeared pretty much all every other Disney spin-off, from Disney Infinity to Kingdom Hearts, but I don't discuss that here because there'd be way too much to discuss there. Maybe one day I'll do a whole series on Kingdom Hearts. We will see. Let's talk about rides. In Tokyo Disneyland, there's a Beauty and the Beast ride that is very impressive, mostly for this effect you see right here, where it looks like the Beast transforms seamlessly into the Prince, which is a very great effect. There's a whole video about the effect, basically just using clever peppers, ghosts, and a little bit of treadmill stuff. Not treadmill, but trapdoor shit. This is one of Disney's first trackless rides, and Tokyo Disneyland just has some great attractions, and I hope to go there one day and actually see this ride in person, 'cause this ride looks really great. There's always been Beauty and the Beast shows at the Disney parks too, like in Hollywood Studios or in Epcot. So yeah, if you want to see a small version of the movie, well, there you go. I always have mentioned this, but the Philadelphia's Filler Magic's my favorite ride, so I mentioned that there's a Beauty and the Beast segment here, and it smells good. I don't know what they smell in here, but I always like the way this part of the ride smells. At Magic Kingdom in Hong Kong Disneyland, there's this weird thing called Enchanted Tales with Belle, where you can interact with a Disney princess, and also other weird little animatronics here. It's for younger kids, but you might enjoy it. Who the heck knows? There's also this segment of the park called New Fantasyland, which doesn't actually have a whole lot, other than a Gaston Tavern, a Beauty and Beast gift shop, and a castle eating thing. So it's just a shop and 2 eateries. They spent a lot of money on this for some reason, but yeah. The castle from the distance doesn't look very good, and it's fortunate that it didn't really do much with this area other than adding gift shops. I mean, if you want to see Gaston, I mean, that's cool, but this should have been a lot better. Despite the castle looking bad, the interior of the area, or otherwise known as the Beer Guest Restaurant, is one of the higher dining establishments in the Disney park. Maybe you couldn't tell based on how it looked. But that's actually it for the Disney park stuff, so let's go on to the tier. This is one of those reservation-only things, and they don't tell you that, because of course they don't. So yeah, it looks interesting, but make sure you get reservations if you want to do this, and you're in the Magic Kingdom. I'd put Beauty and the Beast into the S tier. I don't know where else it would be. It belongs there. It's a good movie, and yeah. In the P rank, as I call it, or the princess rank, Belle joins Ariel in the S tier. Now, she is an Ariel. She is hot. She's not Ariel hot, I'll say that. I don't sip for her like I sip for redheads, let's just be honest. But Belle's a great character. She's a bookworm, doesn't care what other people think, and that makes her an outcast, because it's not right for women to read. There's more important things to focus on, like me. I was referencing Gaston, in case you're wondering. No, I like to read, and I feel bad that all her books get damaged until she gets a giant library from the Beast, and that's all bookworms want, right? Is a giant library to read to their heart's content. That's what I want. Actually, I would like a entire pantry of junk food, personally. I talked a lot about Gaston, mostly jokingly, but yeah, he's an S tier. He's a very unique villain. He's iconic, he's funny, and he can be intimidating, and he cries like a little bitch at the very end. And I like his death scream he makes. He goes, ah! Hilarious. Anyway, here's the song tier list. So you can see they're near the top of the list. They are not at the bottom, because the bottom's for crappy songs. So yeah, Be Your Guest is in B tier. Be Your Guest, it's definitely a fun number to look at, but to listen to, it's just alright. Nothing too bad. I mean, it's not bad, obviously. B tier is above way many songs just being B tier alone. There's also The Beauty and the Beast, or Tale as Old as Time, which is alright song. Again, better thing to look at than listen to, because I'm not a big fan of Angela Lansbury's vocals. She's not a bad singer, I'm just not a big fan of it. Wasn't a big fan of her Sweet Out either. Anyway, in A tier, we got Belle, which is another sequence that's better to look at to that than listen. It's constructed very nicely, but, you know, I like every the town people speaking, and I've seen a lot of other musicals steal that, because it's a good idea. But oh well. Human Again is in A tier, which ranks out 3 other Beauty and the Beast songs, even though it was cut from the film originally, so that's kind of funny. I talked about why I like that one. Something There is pretty short, and I like the ending part. The little kid's like, what? What is it? Like, that part is what makes it lower. It would have been higher for that. Like the part where Belle's behind the tree. She's like, maybe I have a thing for furry men. The mob song. I thought it was going to rank higher, but, you know, it has another disjointed part. Some of these songs are a little disjointed. It makes them harder to listen to by themselves sometimes. And mob song's one of them. I like it, though. It's nice and mobby. Gaston's a great song. It's just fun. It makes you happy. I like the part where he hits the chessboard. I don't have much to say about that. And the only S tier song I have here is the reprise of Belle. It's nice and short. It just has her singing. Because Belle, oddly enough, doesn't have any main vocal songs, which is kind of weird. You think they would do something more of that. But oh well. That's Beauty and the Beast's song list, and pretty solid. Like I said, not as good as The Little Mermaid in my opinion, but like I said, it's good to have all the songs in the top 3 tiers. That's a good thing. Hop on a magic carpet, because next time we're going to be looking at Aladdin. See you then.